Hello, everyone. Welcome to Take Two, the show where we talk about films, TV, and everything in between. I'm your host, Michael D. Smith. Thank you so much for listening today. We have a very, very special show. It's our first show, and we're very excited. Today, before we get started, two quick disclaimers. First off, everything that is said on this show is just our opinions of said cinema, and you should treat it just as that. Secondly, anybody that is worried about spoilers, this is a very, very spoiler-heavy show. We go very in-depth into each film and or TV show that we go into. Now that we have that in the way, let's get going. Let me introduce our guest for today. Our guest for today is Cole Valis. Cole is a freshman at Montclair State University with a major in filmmaking. He is a union actor. He is a up-and-coming cinematographer, and he is currently a co-executive producer on a project, little pretty big project that me and him are working on this summer. So Cole, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Mikey.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
I'm very excited.
All right, let's get right into it. So before we get started, I'll give a brief rundown of what this show is going to be like for every episode. We basically take two films or two TV shows, or a film and a TV show, and we spend about 20 to 30 minutes per film discussing in depth our reactions, our favorite scenes, our favorite moments, what we didn't like, what we did like, and just overall going over everything. Our first film for the day, we have a very Pixar-themed episode, so I'm sure everybody should be pretty excited. I hope, anyway. I mean, you're excited.
I love Pixar.
I'm very excited.
Pixar is amazing.
So our first film is Wall-E. Before we get into it, some quick facts. It was written and directed by Andrew Stan. It was also directed by Jim Reardon. It premiered on June 27th in 2008. The music was composed and conducted by Thomas Newman. It had a $180 million budget with a $533 million cumulative box office. It won an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. It stars Ben Burt, Alyssa Knight, Jeff Garlin, and on Rotten Tomatoes, it received a 95% by critics and 89% by fans as far as how much they liked it. So Cole, since you're the guest today, why don't you go first on what you thought about Wall-E?
Well, absolutely. First off, I want to start by saying, kind of disclaimer, Wall-E is on my top 10 films ever.
Is it really?
It is.
Oh, wow.
And Wall-E is just an extraordinary film, not only from a viewer's point of view, but from a filmmaker's point of view. I don't think that Wall-E was on my top 10 until I really started to go deep into how the film was made and going through the themes of the film that actually pertain to filmmakers as a viewer. So it's really propelled itself up there in my top films list. I watched it again today, getting prepared for this podcast.
Of course.
And it doesn't cease to amaze me every single time I watch it.
In what ways? Go into detail. Like what specifically, I guess as a whole, as a film, what stands out to you?
The animation itself is so human.
Mm-hmm.
They mix in live action and also animation within the film. But even when you're seeing animation, you're still relating to it as a human. It's not anything different. Even though you're watching robots and there's not much dialogue, you still see every single element of it as a person, and you see Wall-E as its own person, and even Eve as its own person. And the film has so many themes to it, and the way they animate it is not like an animation film.
Okay.
I would say it's like a feature film, like an actual feature that is live action narrative.
Okay.
They have camera movements that usually you won't see in animation. And I don't know how early they started to do this, but they had visuals that looked like it was a camera being handheld on a shoulder mount and panning and following and dollying. And it's just like so many different camera movements that you see in live narrative fiction, but not in animation as per se. And that's a thing that I think Pixar does as a whole very, very well. I'll talk about that a little more when we get into our second film.
Yeah, sure.
But just everything about it is amazing. And except for, I do have a little point against their sound design.
Okay.
Not their sound design, but more of the song choices that they use.
Like
music.
Like what's like? But do you have any?
One thing that I like about Pixar normally is that they have like a motif that they follow.
Okay.
Throughout films. and maybe I missed it when watching it, but I still haven't seen that motif soundtrack that I want to see in WALL-E. I feel like it's a lot of just like mixing and matching of
Just music. It's
just
not
music.
really like it's not like you don't watch it saying like, oh, that's the WALL-E theme.
Exactly.
Like you don't feel like there's a solid, continuous, reoccurring theme that is the movie's theme. It's just music.
Yeah, like it opens on a song that it's a dated song. I think it's like the 60s
Right.
realm, and then it starts going into like really like instrumental violin string quartet, like that kind of thing. And then you get into the air, and then it starts going into like some robotic sounds, and then it goes back into the string quartet, and it's just a lot of weird mix and matches. And that's one thing that I deduct from the film, but overall I think the film is amazing. And one thing that Pixar does is it tells its story visually.
Okay.
That's what I think is so great about WALL-E as well, is there's little dialogue. Very, very little
It's
dialogue.
really, I mean, other than the robots saying their names, it's really just the humans that talk. And they're not introduced into the film until maybe like maybe the midpoint of the film, maybe even a little bit, maybe before that, but I would argue
very slightly before the midpoint.
yeah, it's not, they're not, even though, and I'll get into this in my review, but the theme of the film obviously is that, you know, life is important and that, you know, humans have taken advantage of that, and that's why they are where they are in space. And it's WALL-E's discover of that plant that life is still on Earth and life can still be on Earth and that we can still rebuild. So it's interesting because although WALL-E is the Tillier, is that the title character? He's the name of the movie.
Oh, correct. Yeah. Okay.
Although he is the title named character and the story follows him, I would argue that, you know, the introduction of the humans where it was perfect. I don't think that I would have added them in earlier. I don't think I would have added a more important character to the story. You know what I mean?
I mean, they have them there at the beginning in the advertisements that they show.
Yeah.
For the, I'm forgetting the name of the ship now. Not the Alias, the Atlas, something with an A.
I think it's Atlas.
I don't want to say it wrong. So the ship that they all live on.
The ship they live in. The ship they roll on.
Right,
on
for
their
700
chairs.
years.
Yeah.
They show that a little bit in the advertising of those humans. I mean, it is live action, which I never even remembered it having live action in it.
Wait, they did motion capture? Or
No.
what do you mean?
There was live action footage.
Oh, yeah. Specifically in Wally's I guess trailer or whatever, he has a video from a movie, and it's
not just the movie. There's advertisements for the ship where I guess the president of the world or something, that's what they called him.
Yeah, the leader.
The president. They said president, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He was like promoting this ship that they were going to live on, and even when they found the plant on the ship, he gave the instructions to like, this is what you do. Maybe you just don't remember, but that's fine. But
I remember in the beginning there were advertisements, and I thought that's an interesting creative choice. I mean, I don't know who made that choice. I don't know if it was the directors or whoever, but I mean, to put live action footage in a animated film is a very bold choice. I think it would have been safer. I mean, it's not a huge like crazy plot point. Like, it really doesn't have much to do with the plot other than the exposition they're giving, but it could have been a raccoon saying it. It doesn't matter. It's just what they're saying. But it was a very bold choice to make it live action. I also forgot that because it, you know, came out in 2008, so we were around 8. So I don't ever remember specifically having live action.
Yeah, it was actually Fred Willard who played that character.
Oh.
So it was Fred Willard on screen playing the president. Yeah, it's definitely like a huge choice to make, and I think it actually grounds the film, and it brings the film to another human perspective. It's like look at this Earth that we have. This is what we have. Like that human is real. This Earth is real. This story is quote unquote real.
Yeah.
This can really happen. So take this film to heart. You know.
Yeah.
Another thing is, do you want me to get into the themes now?
Yeah. Well, here, let me say what I think of the film.
Oh, I would love to hear what you
Yeah,
think.
and then because we do have theories, correct? You have those, right?
I wouldn't
Or-
say they're theories.
Yeah, what you brought up to me that one day, and I was like, "What? No." And then you were like, "No, no, no." So yeah, we'll get
We'll
back
talk
into
about
that
it.
because I forgot about that. But so I really like this film. I think we were talking about this as we were walking to the studio, saying how Pixar really hasn't made a bad film.
I don't think they ever
I don't
have.
think they have, and it's really really impressive. And when I was looking through the films, because there are a lot of them, I kept saying like, "Oh, that's my favorite," or "Oh, that's my favorite," "That's my second favorite," and I really just the list kept changing because they're all so good, and it's so difficult to pick one. And my favorite is the next one, but I'll get into that. So for this film, I really enjoyed this film. I vividly remember seeing this as a kid, and I really enjoyed it then, just as much as I do now. So as I was going through the film, I mean, I noticed some little things that I really thought was just really keen details by the animators as well as the sound editors and all that. Like I love Wally's such an interesting character compared to Eve because like Wally has like a little schedule, right? So like he wakes up every day, he turns on, goes outside, compacts trash, recharges midday, compacts more trash, and then turns off. That's it. And it's this daily routine. And I guess you could argue that he's probably the last, I don't know what they're called, but whatever the trash cleaning robots.
Wally's,
right,
Yeah.
right, sorry. Yeah. Duh. I would argue that he's probably one of the last ones, if not the last one on the
Yeah, I
planet.
believe he is the last one.
And what's amazing is although he is programmed, right, he is a robot, they were able to give him a layer of emotion and, I guess, purpose in the story, not just from, picking up trash, compacting it, putting it in a block, and compacting the amount of trash that's in the world. But they were able to give him a purpose and an emotion and give him feeling that I thought was so interesting because, like that little bug when he comes in, little cricket, I guess,
Cockroach.
when that comes in, like he's reacting to it not like a robot would. He's reacting to it like a human would. And I really enjoyed that. I loved how they characterized him.
And I'll get into why I think
that
is how they pulled that off and why Wally is the way he is.
I also loved how much expression and emotion they were able to give into a 3D metal character. I thought it was very impressive. And I think, obviously every film, not every film, but most films have a underlying somewhat social commentary on the world. And it's usually not an adaptation. I guess that's not the right word. It's like either it's an exaggerated version of the world, which I would argue this film is, in some ways. And I love how the creators of this film, even in 2008, which it was 11 years ago now, they obviously poked at the whole idea of, global warming, of our oceans getting filled with trash, all these very socio-political topics that usually you wouldn't really find in a Pixar film, in a child's film anyway, children's film. And I really, really appreciated that. And I always knew, okay, something about trash. That's what as a kid. But as I grew up and I've gained knowledge and experience, I've noticed that it's a really, really interesting how they were able to work that into the story, but yet not make it like this is a propaganda for people to stop wasting things. Or
I think that's a great thing that Pixar does overall.
Oh, yeah. If you look at any of their films, there's so many hidden meanings in them. And if you really take the time to look at them, you'll be like, whoa.
And Pixar itself is so great at bridging the gap between adult and child and letting everyone love that movie and enjoy it.
Yeah, because I'm a firm believer of that those movies are not made for the kids. They're made for the parents that have to bring the kids to the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's like little cute things, there's little funny jokes that anybody can understand, and that's for the kids. But no, the actual hidden meanings and characters and little nods and jokes to things that you can't outright do in a Pixar movie are 100% for people over the age of 18.
Yeah.
I also love how, because I think, as animated characters, I think Eve and Wall-E are great scene partners together. I think they're very dynamic, and kind of how I said how Wall-E is a very programmed, because since he's a robot, he just has his things he's got to do, and that's all he cares about. but like the minute he sees Eve, I think he sees what he used to be, because obviously he has that like memory chip or memory control board
that
in
circuit.
him. And in, you know, obviously Eve has the same one, but it's just interesting to see how Eve is so much like a soldier, and she just goes through her days and she has to find life. That's her goal. But Wally like just follows her around like a little like kid obsessed with like first crush, and it's very the way they did that. It's comedic, it's heartfelt, it's somewhat saddening, especially when she finds the plant and then she kind of like shuts off. And he's like freaking out, and he's trying to like get her to charge back up. He thinks the power went out.
Yeah, well, the film as itself is a love story.
100%.
It is. The film is a love story between Wally and Eve with, hey, we got to save this planet.
Yeah.
And so many other stories that you can see within it, but I think you don't see that as a child. And as a child, you're like, oh, they fell in love. It's that.
Yeah.
And it's this connection that they have. And what's so weird about Wally as a protagonist is that he doesn't really change from the beginning to the end, I feel.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
And even in like the third act of it and at the end of it, at the climax, he is not making the choices. He's literally out of power.
Yeah.
And cannot do anything.
He's a passive protagonist.
He's just watching
the
conflict go down, which that is advanced as heck.
I mean, that's usually a relatively, I don't know what the word is, I guess. People don't like passive protagonists, and they typically say don't write passive protagonists, because if you're writing a main character who they should be doing the actions. They should be creating change, not just with themselves, but with the world around them. But when you have a character like Wally who, I mean, it's really, I mean, I almost feel like Wally is the comedic relief of the film as well, next to other characters like the bug and the little robot with the power cleaner or whatever.
Yeah.
He's there like in so many of the scenes, especially on the spaceship where they're fighting over the plant, and then the steering wheel throws it out, but then you hear like Eve, and then the plant just rises up. It's like, oh, Wally's there. It's like, great. Yeah. But like he should be the one in the room doing that. You know, he should be the one like fighting but he's not.
He never is. He's never creating the conflict. He's never fixing the conflict.
Yeah.
It's either Eve's fixing the conflict, or the people are fixing the conflict, or the captain is fixing the conflicts. Another thing that I found interesting was that I feel like the captain would have been the obvious choice for the antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the captain being like, oh, we found this plant? I don't want to go home.
Yeah, I'd rather stay here. Life is way better out here.
But I nods to Pixar for saying, no, that's the easy choice. Captain is going to be a part of this. It's going to be the robots. And then that's another commentary on robots and how artificial intelligence may take over the world eventually.
Even I love the commentary of just the humans in this film in general, how they're all sitting in chairs the entire time. They're all fat, and they always have screens plastered in front of them, just, you know, and it's amazing too, because when you look at the time period, like this film could have came out yesterday and I think still would have been as impactful as it would have been 8 years ago,
maybe
or
even
11
more.
years ago.
Maybe even more.
Oh, yeah. I think it's so amazing, too, because, I mean, that's a huge jab. I think a much more direct jab at humankind just in general versus the whole global warming, climate change, you know, type thing. That's a more subtle jab, and it's like, okay, well, it's not my fault. But the whole jab at how human lives are so just confronted by technology, and we've lost the sight of what's beautiful in life and what's living. You know, we're so concerned with metal and screens that we're not concerned with another flesh and blood human being.
Right.
It's really mind blowing. I also my favorite scene in this entire film, and it's probably one of my favorite sequences of any Pixar film, is the fire extinguisher scene.
Love it.
In space. Not only is it a gorgeous, like, another favorite shot of that from that film is the shot where Wally is on the spaceship and he's pushing his hand through the blue like stars. I don't know what they are. You know what I'm talking about? Like,
yes.
It's gorgeous. Like the way the light is, the way the light refracts off of him and the ship. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. I love that scene. One thing that struck me about that scene is that it made me notice that the stakes are always so high at every scene in this film. And the point where, like, the plant was in that escape pod, and then the escape pod got sent out. Now, Wally's in that escape pod. That's a problem on its own. That's a huge problem. They could have left that there, and Eve had to go save him. But then they said, you know what? No. Let's make this escape pod have to self-destruct in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, what? I mean, granted, when it did explode, nothing happened to Wally, which was weird. And Wally
no collateral damage.
Yeah, no collateral damage. But nothing happened to any of the robots, actually.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's okay. I don't think...
Except once.
Was it when... Which one? Was it when Wally got crushed, or...
No. There was... At no point did anyone get hurt by any physical, like, thing. Like, anytime someone you would be like, oh, they're hurt, they would get right back up and be totally fine. Except for... Oh, man, what's the scene? I think it was Otto, the steering wheel robot. I believe. It was one of the bad robots. And they fell from a high height. And they shattered to pieces. And that was the only time you ever saw a robot die.
Right.
In the whole film. And I was like, wow. Because the whole time, it's setting you up. They're going to get hit. That something's going to follow them. They're going to explode. Nothing's going to happen to them. Then something happens to that, and you're like, oh, whoa. That hit me. Like, it, like, they are so amazing at it. At just visual stuff. And they never have to speak once.
Yeah. They have so much emotion and so much personality in just the sounds they make and the facial expression. I mean, like, Wall-E doesn't even have a face. He just has two, like, binoculars, basically, on the top of his head. That's it. But
you want to hear something cool about Wall-E?
What's up?
So when they were making Wall-E's design,
okay,
I watched a documentary about this a while ago. They were like, how do we make him feel human? Do we put eyes in his binoculars? Because they were like, we need to give him some type of human quality to make him feel like a human, and not a robot to people. And they couldn't figure it out because binoculars are they're glossy, right? And they just show reflection. And they're just like, we can't have that. That's a robot. You don't really... Emotion comes from the eyes. You want to see the eyes. So what they did was they took those binoculars and they took the aperture inside of the lens to act as a pupil.
Oh.
So if you look at it, the aperture is going in and out, and the aperture is closing, and that's him blinking.
Yeah.
Yo.
Genius. Wow. I never thought about
insane.
that. I never thought about that.
I didn't either. I never really noticed it until I watched that documentary, and they're like, we need to build Wall-E. We need to make him look like a human.
we guys, we have a problem. We need to build Wall-E.
Yeah.
Our next summer blockbuster film. All right, so let's get into those, now that we've kind of talked about everything.
Okay.
Let's get into that quote-unquote theory that you say isn't a theory, although you started off saying it was a theory.
All right. I have to stretch a little bit because I get very excited talking about this.
Oh, I thought you were... Okay, yeah.
Let me sit up. So, true or false? Every electronic equipment that we get comes with an owner's manual.
True.
Cool. True or false? Those owner's manuals are the rules to how that electronic works.
True.
In a theory, true or false? Those rules are how those electronics live.
In the theory?
In
your theory?
In theory, like just in general.
Okay.
Yeah. True or false?
Those rules is how they work.
How they live. That's their way of living.
By those rules.
Yeah.
Yes, true.
Okay. So, Wall-E has this VHS tape that he watches all the time. And he what's the word? Like reenacts it.
Oh, mirrors it?
He
puts his claws like together, like holding hands. When
and he like dances with it.
Yeah,
he reenacts the movie.
Yeah,
and he watches this movie all the time. So my theory is that this movie in this instant, Hello Dolly, that's the movie that he's watching, is WALL-E's way of trying to find the owner's manual for human life. So WALL-E has this owner's manual. He has these rules, and that's what he lives by. And what he does is his owner's manual is he goes out, finds trash, makes it into a box, puts it in a nice
Like
building-shaped tower, whatever. And he's like, okay, I'm a robot. They must also be robots, and they must have an owner's manual, humans.
Okay.
I have to find that. I want to know how they live. So he watches these movies. He watches movies to find out how humans interact with each other and how that works. So my theory is that Pixar is making a commentary saying that movies are the owner's manuals to human life. That blew my mind when I first heard it.
Okay, wait. Let's backtrack for it. So you're saying movies are our manual of how we operate and how we live.
Right. I'll let you think on that.
But okay, it is deep. I will give you that. But movies weren't around forever.
Right.
But humans still operated.
We never had an owner's manual, though.
Because the technology wasn't there.
Right. Think about what we had stories.
Yeah. Stories have been around since
Forever.
dawn of man, yeah.
And stories show us how to interact with each other. Popular stories. I mean, if you look at today's society, we see a celebrity wear a shoe, a lot of people are going to go out and buy that shoe.
Oh, yeah. Social reproduction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So films, they're just showing what life is. I mean, films are basically a slice of life. Whether you call it a slice of life film or a rom-com or whatever,
Yeah.
they're just a slice of life. And they are showing us how humans interact with each other, how humans think. I mean, to me, from this film alone, I think film is the owner's manual for human life. And that blows my mind as a filmmaker because that makes me want to make films so much more. I mean, from a filmmaker's perspective, WALL-E is the greatest film ever. Minus some other films.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely the best animated.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can't really disagree with that because it does add up. It does make sense. It's one of those things where I feel like because it's so, what's the word? I guess abstract. It is. You can't deny, being that there's nobody that has proved scientifically that it is abstract in that aspect.
Yes.
It's not scientifically proven. From that, so when you look at it like that, it's tough to wrap your head around it because you're like, wait. So when I watch, I don't know, give me a movie.
Birdman.
Great movie.
Great
movie. So Birdman, we're looking at that, and that's a slice of life from those characters in our world who are experiencing these things and these relationships with other people, and we're watching that. And when we watch that, we get influence psychologically to go and do something related to that.
Yeah, or we learn what another person is thinking.
Right, or yeah.
Have you seen Roma?
No, I have not yet seen it.
Okay. Have you seen... I'm trying to think of a character that is nothing like us.
But you mean physically? Do you mean their ideology? What do you mean?
Ideology, their way of life, how they were brought up.
Oh, different from me and you?
Me and you.
Oh,
yeah. This is terrible right now that we can't think of this.
I know. Can it be from a different time period?
Sure.
Like Django from Django Unchained?
Sure. When you're watching Django,
Okay.
you have no idea what it's like to be in his shoes.
Yeah.
You have no idea what he's thinking. You have no idea what he grew up as. But through the film, you learn stuff about him, and you learn his priorities. You learn what he's thinking, what he wants to do in life, what motivates him. You learn all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much what you're learning in an owner's manual for a robot. You're learning, he does this activity. He does it for this reason.
Oh,
you know?
jeez.
That's crazy.
That makes so much sense. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Is WALL-E your favorite Pixar film now?
No, I mean it's definitely the most thought-provoking Pixar film. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it's one of them.
For multiple reasons, not just that one. Wow. Yeah. All right. That was a good one. That's a good theory. I'm definitely gonna tell people that, and they're probably gonna be like, "What?"
Yeah, it's crazy. Dude.
It is crazy. It's mind blowing. Wow.
Can I just talk about Pixar for a second?
Yeah. Go ahead.
How good are their montages?
Probably. Let me get the best montages in film history.
Yeah, the best.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody will ever surpass Pixar in how well they construct their montages.
Yeah.
And WALL-E, I think itself is just a montage.
A montage of his life.
It's just a montage. The whole intro is a montage. I don't think from him on Earth to him going to the ship, I think is just a montage.
Yeah, that makes sense because you're combining maybe multiple days, but if not, you're cutting out you're cutting out all of the stuff that we don't need to see. You're just getting an idea of what his daily life is.
Yeah.
And then when that ship comes in, everything changes, and that's where that would be the inciting incident of that story.
I think even past that, it's still a montage. I mean, yes, there is a montage where when she has the plant inside of her and she locks up, and then he has this whole thing where he's taking care of her. That's a beautiful montage. Even
before that, the one where she's scanning around the areas and he's like,
and then they fall in love. Yeah. There's so many montages in between it, but I think itself, the whole thing is, the movie is a montage.
Yeah.
There's no talking.
And that's not a bad thing, too.
No, and it's so thought-provoking, and it's so amazing. And I don't even know how they do it every single time.
Yeah.
Their visual storytelling is amazing. It opens on a shot, and you see trash everywhere, and you're like, all right, I see trash. And then it pans up, and you see the trash is bigger than buildings.
Yeah,
that is visually you don't have to say anything. You already know how long it's been.
Yeah. I agree. They're very, very talented at visual storytelling.
It's unbelievable. I don't even know how many words they said in WALL-E. It's probably less than 2,000.
Less than 100, maybe.
No, because they had a couple things.
Especially the humans.
But to transition to our next film.
Yeah. So let's get into our next film. So our next film is Ratatouille. It was written and directed by Brad Bird, who also did The Incredibles and Incredibles 2, as well as other films. It was also directed by Jan Pinkava, I believe is her name. It was released on June 27, 2007, so pretty much roughly a year before WALL-E.
Mm-hmm.
The music was by the great Michael Giacchino, Disney's favorite composer. It had a $150 million, that's important, the million, dollar budget, and it made $620 million in the cumulative box office. It won an Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. It stars Patton Oswalt, Ian Holm, and Lou Romano, to name a few. It received a 96% by the critics on Rotten Tomatoes and an 87% by fans. So I'll go first on this one since WALL-E was your favorite and this is my favorite movie. Animated.
I give you the stage.
Okay, thank you. I love this movie. As I said before, obviously picking a favorite Pixar movie is like picking, I don't know,
your favorite body part.
That's a weird example.
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
I was gonna say like picking the best apple in an orchard that has like all great apples. I don't know. It's really good.
Yeah.
Every movie. But this movie for me stands out, and it stood out to me when I first saw it. I don't know if I saw it in theaters, but I know I definitely saw it multiple times on DVD from various places. And I just think this is a very unique and powerful story. Obviously, every Disney film and every Pixar film is unique. Obviously, pretty much talking robots in space or monsters who can talk. They're all crazy. But I think this film is unique because, first, it's the only Disney film. Might be the only Disney film, but definitely only Pixar film that was set in Paris, in France, which is a very unique environment. And I'll get on the visuals in a little bit. But for me, the music and the voice actors of this film are all very surreal to me. Like for very few films, I can look at a character and say like, okay, that actor is that character. I don't believe that's an actor. I believe that's a character. But for me, for this film, I believe that Remy was who he was. I would believe that if I actually ran into a rat on the street, and he started talking to me like, "Oh, you're Remy." Like for some reason, he just stuck in my head, and he was very memorable. And I think it's I love the idea of these two characters, Linguini, which by the way, hilarious name, Linguini and Remy, who are one's a human, one's a rat, and they're both not loved by their species. They're both, I guess, ostracized is a little over the top. Maybe not for Remy. Remy was literally like separated from his family, but and they meet each other in that scene. You were just watching it a little while ago. The scene where they're by the river at night, and he has the Remy in the mason jar, and he's about to just drop him into the river, basically, ending his life.
Mm-hmm.
But him saying, no, I'm not doing this. I'm going to let him go. And then Remy comes back, and he realizes that, like, I feel like this guy needs me. Like, I feel like something is drawing me towards him. And I think it's a really powerful and moving story because these are two misfits who they don't have a home. They don't have a place where they're accepted. And to have these two unlikely friends come together and not just come together and help each other out, but prosper. I mean, they find out that, Linguini is Gusteau's son.
Mm-hmm.
And I also love the use of Gusteau as a ghost inside of Remy's head. I think that's very unique. I think it would have been easier to... I mean, that's a unique choice in general. They probably definitely didn't need to do that. I think probably somebody in the writing room must have been like, why is there a ghost talking to the rat?
Yeah.
But it's a Pixar film. You never know. And he's great. He's a great motivation. I think that's the human inside of Remy. I think Remy isn't full rat. I think he is, human. And they say that in the film, too. They say, like, you're acting like a human. And he's like, they're not that bad. Like, I've learned a lot from them. Like, it's, again, this is another social commentary on the world. If you believe that one person is bad because everybody's saying they're bad, or one type of person or one group or whatever, you're going to just believe it, and you're not going to think any further. But if you actually, learn about them and actually meet with them and talk with them, you can learn a lot from them, and you can both prosper together. It's really moving. And then I also love the idea of Remy controlling Linguini by the hair. I just think that's a really funny image that they kept bringing up, especially the little boss. I don't know why. There's always they always make the boss really small and angry. I don't know. It's just really funny. But him always freaking out, saying the rat and all that stuff. That's a great reoccurring.
That was a perfect impression.
Oh, thanks. I've been practicing all night. Also the use of one of my favorite parts about this film, other than just the whole aspect of showing Paris in an animated film, is the use of colors. Do you know which specific sequences I'm talking about?
When they're eating food?
Yes. Whenever Remy tastes cheese or bread, and it goes all black around him, and he closes his eyes, and he's just thinking about the food, and there's pops, little fireworks.
That's
almost.
What he's tasting.
Yeah, it's so visual, and it's so just you can almost taste it. It's that real.
Mm-hmm.
And the use of yellows and purples and reds, and he's just, in the music, and Gusteau just talking with his nice, I guess, French accent. It's that's one of my favorite parts of the film. And like I was saying before about the river scene, the animation in this film was great. Specifically all the nighttime scenes by the river and just in Paris in general. It's very, I don't know, I've never been to Paris. I want to, but it's very, very well done in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. What did you think of this?
I'll agree with you on a lot of parts.
Okay.
I think that the sound design and the score is amazing. I think it's so good.
Thanks.
Those colors, and those parts, great.
Yeah.
I will disagree with you about the ghosts, though.
Okay. Well, I mean, what aspect? Because I didn't necessarily say it was necessary. I said,
you said you like it.
I said I liked it, but I said somebody must have questioned it. It's definitely a weird thing that they did.
I don't like it. I don't think it needs to be in there. I think that we should. I would rather see Remy make these choices visually than have Gusteau talking to him and making these choices. I can see why they said it. I can see why they did it there.
It'd probably cut down a little runtime too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
The scenes would be more about him, less about Gusteau in his head.
Another thing I didn't love about the film is that it started and ended with voiceover. The whole introducing the world was all voiceover, and it ends with voiceover, how the world ended. and I think it's lazy. I don't love voiceover in film.
Yeah, it's what's the term? It's like narration is a writer's narration is cheating for screenwriters or something like that.
I think it's cheating. That's the only real knock I have on the film. Other than that, dude, Ratatouille is awesome. I've seen it so many times. I love it.
You did an analysis of it, right? Last year?
Yeah, in my design class, my film design, we did it and we talked about it and how they created these characters and whatnot. And to bring up camera movements, like I was talking about before, and I said I would bring it up later.
Yeah.
How they designed that is they would create in the animation the entire scene around them.
Right.
So they would create the play space that they have. They wouldn't know what their storyboard would be. They wouldn't know how they wanted to shoot it in terms of animation. Yeah. And they would just build their set. They would build their kitchen, and they would put Remy in it, and then they would have them run. And then they would take an animation camera, and they would put the camera in, and they would create a path for it and create a shot design based off after they've already made the animation. So they've made this animation, they made all this stuff, and they're like, okay, now we create this shot design. And it's
a very unique way of doing it.
That's such a live action film thing.
Yeah.
That's nothing you see in animation. In animation, you're like, all right, I want to see this, I want to see this. And you just animate that screen, you know? Kind of to go off topic, they've done this before. I don't know if you remember that movie, Rango.
It was Johnny Depp, right?
I think so.
I remember seeing the trailers. I never saw the movie. It looked it looked like a very unique way of animation.
I never saw the movie, but I met a camera operator who
was on the film. It's like, oh, what camera did you operate? The digital one.
You think I'm kidding?
Was he actually a camera operator?
Yes.
Oh, wait, no, because they shot motion capture, right?
No.
What? I'm gonna let you talk instead of me guessing.
This is crazy. They put him in a VR headset. VR. They have the animation done. He held an iPad with a camera on the other end. And they said, we want this shot, we want this shot, we want this shot, shoot it. Through VR.
What?
Yeah. Think about that. They put him in motion capture as the cameraman.
And filmed around the scene that they blocked out?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Amazing. Ratatouille didn't do that, but I just wanted to bring that up because that's so crazy.
Yeah, it's a unique, wow.
Because they were like, we want actual shots that would happen in real life and that humans can actually do. So we're going to bring in a human and he's going to shoot it.
Now I want to watch that movie.
I know, right? I never got around to it.
Another thing I loved about Ratatouille was the antagonist. Mm-hmm. The critic towards the end. Oh, I mean there are a couple antagonists. Yeah, there's the dad, there's the boss, and then there's the critic. The critic I love specifically because, I feel like Pixar's what's the motto is for most films that they do is like to take the character what are they called? Character like the protagonist, the antagonist, the herald, what are those called?
The
character types?
Yeah, character types.
So like the
stereotype of a character.
Right. So I feel like they take those character types and they just exaggerate them. Okay. Because, with Pixar, in this film specifically, the critic is like this old, like grayed hair. I think he has he has like a hunchback. He has gray, like literally gray around his eyes. Looks like a demon, or he looks like he's from the Addams Family.
Yeah, he does. That's right.
He's super like scrawny and like tall and like he's the animation of him alone is very great. The voice actor, amazing.
Yeah,
really good. Just super low voice. I can't even do it. Super low voice. But my favorite shot of this entire film is, and I think you can probably agree on this, is it's kind of like a Vertigo shot, sort of.
Okay.
It's when the critic is sitting in the diner or in the restaurant, and he takes a bite of the food, and then he looks up at the camera, and the background compresses with him,
and it
transforms into him as a kid, and pulls back out again. It's like super quick. It's like, that shot should not be in an animation film. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that shot should not be in an animation film. That shot was meant for real life, but they did it. Like,
Yeah.
and they pulled it off well. Do you know what shot I'm talking about?
I know exactly. It goes right into his eye.
Yeah, and then it just pulls away from him, and he's a
Yeah.
kid. And
I mean, that scene, that always tugged at my heartstrings.
Yeah,
Whenever we
it's-
saw that scene, like it's
yeah.
family, and the mom is like, "This is my home cooking." Like,
And it's a great way to remind everybody that, smells, tastes, and just little things through your life can really take you back and are great memories. Specifically taste. You taste something that your mom used to make you when you were a little kid or whatever, and it brings you right back to your kitchen. You're just like, wow, like this is so good. Like, I remember this.
you know what's so crazy? I think that's a lot of people's favorite scene. Yet, it's exposition. That's what it is, and
it's
they tell
pretty
you,
deliberate. Yeah.
And they tell you, do not write exposition.
Oh yeah.
Keep exposition out of your film. Nobody wants to see that. But they did it. They said, you know what? We're going to throw some exposition in there, and it's going to mean something. And everyone's going to love it. Everyone's going to think it's their favorite film ever.
And as much as we, as much as we sit here, saying like, oh, exposition, all these different film techniques and everything, we have to still understand that although these are films and there are millions of dollars going into them, that they're still children's films. And so, like that shot, for instance, the reason why it shouldn't be in there is not just that it shouldn't be in an animated film, because there are animated films that are not childlike. Sausage Party. So it's the reason why it shouldn't be in there is because it's something that I almost feel like is something that a lot of people would assume you shouldn't put in a kids movie, because it's so, I don't know. I feel like that reveal and that exposition, like you said, it's a simple technique. It's you show a bad guy, you show he clearly has something wrong with him, he clearly doesn't like something in the world, he wants to sabotage our main character or characters, and then you see it humanizes him in a very deliberate expositional way. Very simple. Shows his childhood, shows he had something wrong where he just turned bad and he didn't have a great life overall, and then he's happy at the end and he's like, I want to talk to the chef and all that, and he smiles, he's like, thanks for the food. So it's a very, very, very simple, deliberate, here's exposition, here you go. But for some reason it still hits us, even though I would argue it's a cliche way of doing it. I can't think of a film that we've seen. I can't right off the top of my head think of a film where there's a bad guy and he does something or does something from his childhood, and then it cuts to him as a kid and he's like, oh, and then you're like, oh, I get it. I can't remember anything. It just feels cliche. Like, would you agree?
No, I definitely think it feels cliche. And kind of a point that I think you're like walking around, and not maybe intentionally, but you are, is that Pixar films are really simple.
Yeah.
And we talked about this earlier. They're so simple. Like the story itself, the main story in Pixar, so simple that a kid will watch it, love it, understand every moment. But at the same time, dude,
it's like one example I could think of, just because I want cake, is if you think of Pixar films like a cake, where on the outside it's a cake. You can see it's a cake. It'll probably taste like cake. You're assuming it'll taste like cake. It looks like cake. Looks like good cake. That's what the kids see.
Yeah.
They see the cake. They see, I want that cake. It looks good. That's why they go to the movies. They see the cake, they get it, and they taste it, and they're like, yeah, that was good cake. I like that. But for us, when we go and we're more mature, we're more experienced, we just have lived more life than them, we go there, we see, okay, that's a cake, but what's inside the cake? And then we watch the film, and we pick up on all the little jokes. We pick at all the little jabs. We pick on the social commentary. We pick up all the things that these kids it's just going right over their head. They're like, yeah, that's cake. But for us, we're getting a chocolate center. We're getting layers of cake.
it could even be an ice cream cake in there.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know why you'd put ice cream cake in an actual cake. That seems a little weird. It would probably melt. But yeah, like, do you know what I mean? Like, we are able to dissect more than just the outside of it. We're able to see past all those different things, and that's why these films are so special, is that the plot line is so simple. So a rat helps a cook in a kitchen. Boom. That's it.
Yeah.
But then we see all these little things and all these nods and all these hidden meanings that these kids are just not understanding, but we're totally getting, and that's why we're like, wow, that is such a good film. I mean, the amount of times I've seen people older than us who have said, oh, Toy Story, best film ever.
Oh, don't give me.
No, I know. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm not. Anybody listening, Cole has a pretty emotional connection to Toy Story. If you want, go ahead, bring it up.
You want me to?
I mean, like, not the full. I don't want you to cry. Just like,
okay,
explain what it is.
Toy Story has a very linear path to it. Toy Story 1, he was a kid. He was playing with it. Toy Story 2, He started to grow up a little bit. Toy Story 3, he went away to college. Toy Story 4, who knows what's going to happen right now.
Can't wait.
I'm so excited. Can't wait to cry. So for me, that linear path is how my brother grew up. So Andy, to me, is my brother in real life. So when I watched Toy Story 3, it came out about a week before my brother left for college. So I was watching Toy Story 3, and the final scene where Andy's leaving for college, dude, it hit me so hard. I cried so long.
When was this again? You said a week before he left?
A week after he left. So my brother had left, and then Toy Story came out, and I was like, oh, let's watch Toy Story. I'm with my friend in my house. I'm like, I don't want
As you do.
Yeah, I don't
like,
want
let's watch Toy Story.
I don't want to cry in front of my friend, dude. And then bawling. He's sitting there like, what is going on? A year later, his brother left, and he's like, I get it.
At the moment, he's probably like, yeah, it's a good movie, but not that good.
Yeah.
Like,
So I was crying forever. And it's pretty emotional. And then they show it again in school when I was leaving for college. And I was like, I went to my teacher. I was like, I can't see this. I really can't. It's like, and he forced me to watch it. And then I watched it. I'm crying. I'm running out of the classroom. It's the last period. Nobody knows I'm crying. My friends are like, yo, Cole, what's going on? I'm like, I can't talk right now. I get in my car. I'm driving to the gym. I'm now holding back tears. My brother calls me at that moment.
Dude.
I was like, how? Who is doing this? The universe is like against me. And he goes, what's up? I go, nothing. He goes, are you crying right now? And he starts laughing at me. He goes, what are you crying for? And I couldn't tell him. He hung up the phone, and his now wife called me. She goes, Cole, what's wrong? I was like, is someone bullying you at school? No, what happened? I watched Toy Story 3. She goes, what? And then Bo called me, you watched Toy Story 3 and you're crying? They're like laughing at me. I said it, I made a whole thing at his wedding about Toy Story 3 with a speech.
Dude, I watched some of that speech. It was emotional.
Yeah, I was crying.
I mean, I didn't watch
time.
all of it because it wasn't all recorded. But
yeah.
So I want to get your take on this. Do you think, just based off the way the universe has played out your life so far with your brother throughout the 3 films, do you think that in the 4th film, Andy's going to get married?
Yes. I fully believe so. The trailers don't say he is.
Yeah. But do you
yes.
think? But what if he's already married? Is that still okay with? Like, does that still work in your timeline?
How long is he married? Is he like a full adult with kids?
Probably like maybe like they just found out they're gonna have kids. So like maybe
Are the kids
gonna
be in the movie? Are the kids gonna be in the movie?
No.
That's fine then. Once the kids are in the movie, that's Toy Story 5.
It's like, Bo, are you listening?
Yeah.
Toy Story 5 when it comes out.
Get ready.
Yeah. That's so crazy though. It's crazy how life.
It's just worked out like that, and I hope for Toy Story 4 it works out because that'll just be so cool.
But if it does, like, you're probably gonna be like the only one in the audience just like sobbing.
All right.
Like,
I don't know if you've heard the rumor, but Tom Hanks said this is the saddest ending he's ever said.
Yeah, he said. He said
seen.
Him and Tim Allen both said that it was like impossible.
They were bawling in the booth
for them to look at the crew when he was saying the lines. I don't know what it's gonna be, man. That's a whole nother.
I'm so ready to cry.
I mean, I guess I am too.
Yeah. I'm watching it by myself this year. I'm going to a theater. I'm renting out the whole thing. No, I'll sit in the back.
Somebody walks in, they're like, "Is this correct? There's nobody here." And
no,
like,
this is correct. I need to cry.
Thank you. This is just me.
I'm gonna get 2 showings just so when the crew comes in to like clean up after.
I'm like, guys, it's just me. It's like, guys, you don't need to come in. All right, so that looks like we talked about our 2 films. Cole, do you want to talk about our project that we're doing?
Absolutely. I think for the last couple minutes we'll talk about this project we have coming up. So, me and Mikey, we will be producing and show running a pilot in this upcoming summer. It's set to shoot in July. The concept of the film is that the sun has gone out. It's the year 2050.
2065.
2065. We changed it.
Script change.
Right in here, right now. It's the year 2065, and the sun has gone out. And there's been a new elevator race that has adapted to not having the sun. They are called the Nightborn, title of the show, Nightborn.
Yep.
And they can see in the dark. They don't need vitamin D in order to survive. And they are thriving. Now, there are still humans alive who need to take vitamins to take vitamin D, and it is the constant struggle between the two and possibly some fighting.
Possibly. If it
Don't-
gets picked up.
Don't want to allude to too much.
Yeah, we don't want to give you the entire theory of the way. But if you're asking, here's the...
Yeah. So, we are in the middle of doing this. We are casting it as we speak.
Yep,
And we will soon be releasing a crowdfunding campaign.
Yes, this... So, I don't know if you're aware of this, Cole, but this is going to be going on my YouTube channel, which is also my production company, ShockWave Films, who's also the production company for Nightborn. This show is going to be on there. So for everybody, obviously, who is listening to this or watching this, we will most likely be uploading something related to the show sooner. I would imagine within the next couple months, most likely, something to either tease at it or, I mean, we definitely will put out a crowdfunding campaign video onto our channel as well as on our campaign website. But we are also trying to create a somewhat documentary on how we're making it, because for us it's a very, very big step, and it's a very, very big project, biggest I've ever done. I don't know about, I mean, it's definitely the biggest project you've produced.
I've produced,
yeah,
yes.
But you've been on as a different role. So it's obviously, as big as it is, we want to not just document it for ourselves and for everybody involved, but we also want to do it in a somewhat educational way, because, you know, I know when we started this, we had literally no concept of, we didn't obviously have the experience, but we didn't know our ways in. We didn't know what we had to do. I mean, yeah, we knew we needed money. We knew we needed this, but there aren't really any starter packs online. There's so many videos on YouTube about how to make a short film, how to make a good short film, how to make a feature film, but there's never anything about television pilots. So hopefully through the documentary that we're trying to make alongside this project, you'll be able to accurately see how something of this scale is made. So that you can, if you're interested, if you're a filmmaker, you can make something similar for yourself. But I recommend you don't, because it's very stressful. It's a lot of fun, but it's very stressful. I would argue it's more stressful than fun. It's like that cake. It's like 90% of the cake is stress. But then there's that little chocolate core, a little 10%.
Yeah,
and that's the fun.
This is going to be cool.
Yeah, you're like, oh, yeah, once I bite that, it's all good.
So for you who are listening, if you are interested in the project, you can follow us on Instagram at Nightborn TV.
Link in the description.
Yes, it will.
You
be
can
in the
also follow
description.
us on Facebook as well.
Do we have a Twitter?
We do have a Twitter.
We also have a Twitter.
It is going to be up and running very, very soon.
Yeah. I feel like Instagram will be our main hub,
Yes.
but you can follow us anywhere. We would love a follow.
Yeah, every follow, every like on our Instagrams and, you know, Facebook or whatever you're keen on, seriously does help us. It seriously knows that people are out there, people are interested, and people want to support us. So if you're generous enough, we don't post every day. We're not one of those things where you're like, oh my god, this Nightborn thing. Like we post probably honestly once a week, maybe.
During production, we'll probably post a little bit.
Yeah,
more.
and we might even do maybe some live streams.
Yeah.
On set. So if you'd like to do that, it's gonna be really cool. So please, you know, like I said, links in the description to that. So yeah. All right, that's about our time.
If you're feeling generous, donate to the crowdfunding campaign.
Yes, we will put out a link.
Yes, there will be some exclusive incentives.
Oh
on
yes.
there.
Oh yes. All right, so thank you so much for listening or watching, whatever you're doing, to the first episode of Take 2. I'm your host, Michael D. Smith. I'm here with Cole Valis.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll see you guys next week.